Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into a topic that I think is really going to resonate with all of you.
Yeah, this one's pretty powerful.
It is. It's about love,
Love.
but not like the rom-com kind of love.
Right, not just the Hallmark version of love.
Exactly. We're talking about love as like an eternal principle.
Yeah.
Like a force for good.
A force in
our lives.
Universe in our lives, yeah.
Okay, so to guide our conversation today, we're going to be using an excerpt from a talk called The Eternal Principle of Love.
By Elder Hugo Montoya.
By Elder Hugo Montoya. And this talk is just jam-packed with insights and even a pretty, heartwarming story about snow removal.
Oh, it's a good one.
I think it's going to set the stage for where we're going with this.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so picture this Elder Montoya. It takes place in Utah.
Okay.
And Elder Montoya, he's from the Sonoran Desert originally.
So new to snow.
So very new to snow. And he's out there shoveling his driveway.
Working hard.
Working hard.
I can just imagine.
And he sees his older neighbor across the street also shoveling snow.
Oh.
And he's thinking, okay, well, after I finish mine, I'll go over and help him.
Right. Offer a helping hand.
Right. So he calls out to him.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, hey, I'll come help you when I'm done.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The neighbor had a snowblower the whole time.
Oh, no.
And not only that, but as soon as he was done with his own driveway, he went straight over to help Elder Montoya.
So both of them were going to help each other.
Both of them were willing to help.
Without knowing that the other one had a snowblower.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's such a simple act of kindness, right?
But it really says a lot.
It speaks volumes.
It does.
And Elder Montoya, he says this: we are willing to help each other because we love each other, and my brother's needs become my needs and mine become his.
Mm.
And he goes on to say that this is what true ministering looks like.
Yeah, it's not just, showing up and checking a box.
Right. Yeah.
It's really seeing the need and responding to it.
With love.
Yeah, with love, with action.
It's a holier approach, he says.
Yeah, more Christ-like.
More Christ-like. So I don't know, what do you think about that story?
It's so good. It's so powerful. And it just gets to the heart of what we're talking about today.
Like this idea that we're all connected.
Yeah.
We have shared needs.
And when we recognize that,
yeah.
when we focus on that shared humanity instead of our differences, that's when real love and compassion can flourish.
It's like that proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yes, exactly. And that idea of shared needs, that's something that Elder Montoya keeps coming back to throughout this whole talk.
Okay.
And he connects it to the two great commandments.
Love God and love your neighbor.
Exactly. Love God and love your neighbor as yourself.
And he makes it very clear that those two commandments are inseparable.
You can't have one without the other.
You can't just say you love God.
Right.
You have to show it.
In how you treat others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why is loving God first so important in this whole equation?
That's a great question. And Elder Montoya says that we love God first because of what he means to us.
Okay.
He's our Father. He cares for us deeply, and his plan provides for our ultimate redemption.
And it's not like we're perfect beings, right?
No.
We make mistakes.
We stumble, we fall.
We fall.
But God's plan includes a Savior.
Okay.
A way back to him.
Yeah, that's powerful.
It is.
I find that really reassuring, especially when things are tough, and I'm like, starting to doubt,
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of tough times, Elder Montoya doesn't pretend that life is always easy.
Right.
He acknowledges that we're going to face adversity.
Yeah.
And that adversity can test our faith, can make us question everything.
They can shake us to our core.
Yeah. But he also reminds us to hold on to God's promises even when things are hard, even when we don't understand what's happening.
And he uses some really great examples from the scriptures.
Oh, yeah.
Like Elijah's brook drying up,
Right.
Nephi's bow breaking.
These are like classic examples of unexpected challenges, even for people who are incredibly faithful.
Yeah, it's like 1 minute everything's going fine, and then boom.
Right.
Life throws you a curveball.
Yeah, like that example of Nephi's broken bow.
Uh-huh.
I mean, talk about a setback, right?
Right in the middle of this crucial mission.
Yeah, they're relying on that bow for food, for protection, and it just snaps.
Yeah, so what stands out to you about how they responded to these challenges?
I think it's their resilience.
Okay.
They didn't give up on God. They didn't give up on themselves.
They kept going.
They kept going. They looked for solutions. They adapted.
And they trusted that God had a plan.
Yes, and that brings us to this really powerful quote from Elder Montoya. He says, God answers our prayers according to his infinite mercy and love and in his own time.
Okay, so it might not happen on our timetable.
No, Not always.
But we can trust
In his timing
in his timing.
and his wisdom.
Okay, so then he connects this idea of trusting in God's timing to this concept of happiness being independent of our circumstances.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
He's saying that true happiness doesn't depend on everything going perfectly in our lives.
Okay.
It comes from our attitude toward those circumstances.
So it's not about waiting for things to get better.
Right.
It's about choosing how we respond.
Right here, right now.
In the middle of the storm.
Yeah, in the middle of the storm.
So we have more control over our happiness than we often realize.
I think so much more.
Okay.
And Elder Montoya, he gives all these examples of people who faced incredible challenges, but they found ways to not just cope, but to thrive.
Like what kind of examples?
He talks about people who lost loved ones, who went through serious health challenges, who experienced financial ruin.
And they didn't let those circumstances define them.
They didn't.
They chose joy.
They chose joy. They chose to focus on what they could control.
And this reminds me of that quote from President Nelson.
Oh, yeah, the one about joy.
The joy we feel has little to do with the circumstances of our lives and everything to do with the focus of our life.
Powerful, right?
So powerful. And
Yeah.
it's not just some like Pollyanna, just ignore the bad stuff.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we have a choice
We always have a choice.
in how we respond.
Yeah, and that choice is incredibly empowering.
Okay, so where does God's love fit into all of this?
Oh, that's the foundation of it all.
Okay.
It's that constant, that unchanging love that gives us the strength to make those choices, to choose joy, to choose love, even when it's hard.
It's like knowing that no matter what we face, we're not alone.
We're not abandoned.
We're loved.
We are loved unconditionally.
And that love empowers us to love others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Elder Montoya uses this beautiful analogy of a parent who's always there for their child,
Oh,
no matter what.
no matter what they do.
Yeah, no matter what mistakes they make.
Yeah, sometimes I get so focused on my own flaws and my own mistakes, I forget that I'm loved just for being me.
I think we all do that from time to time.
And not just for what I do or don't do.
Yeah, we forget about that inherent worth that we have just because we're children of God.
Okay, so how do we then, how do we express that love that we've been given?
That's where it gets really practical.
Okay.
Elder Montoya talks about blessing his children and how they've expressed gratitude throughout their lives for that love that he showed them.
Okay.
And it wasn't always these big grand gestures.
Right.
It was the everyday things, the small acts of love that made the biggest difference.
Kind word, a hug, just being present.
Yeah, those things matter.
They really do.
And it's not limited to our families either.
Okay.
It's our friends, our neighbors,
Yeah.
even strangers we encounter.
Okay.
It's like that ripple effect.
The ripple effect.
One small act of kindness inspiring another and another
Creating this chain reaction.
of love and compassion.
Okay, so we've talked about our love for each other, for God. Where does the atonement fit into all of this?
That's a great question because Elder Montoya spends a significant part of this talk on the atonement of Jesus Christ.
And it makes sense, right?
It's
Because it's like the ultimate act of love.
Yeah, he calls it the most profound demonstration of love there is.
And he doesn't just talk about it abstractly.
Right.
He really brings it to life.
He describes Christ's experience in Gethsemane and on the cross
Mm-hmm.
in a way that makes it so real, so personal.
Yeah.
You can almost feel the weight of what he went through for us.
So what does that level of sacrifice, what does that level of love, what does that mean for us in our everyday lives?
That is the question, isn't it? And I think that's what we're going to explore as we continue our deep dives into the eternal principle of love.
Sounds good. I'm ready for part 2. It's almost hard to wrap your mind around
It really is.
that level of love,
To willingly go through all of that
for us.
just so we could have the chance to come back to God.
Yeah, I think that's why Elder Montoya's approach in this talk is so powerful. He doesn't just throw out these big theological concepts.
Right.
He brings the atonement to life through these really specific moments.
He focuses on Christ's actions, his words,
Even his concern for others.
while he was in agony.
While he was in agony. It's pretty remarkable.
It is, and I think it helps us to connect with the atonement on a more personal level.
Less like this abstract idea.
Yeah.
More like this incredible story of love unfolding.
And it's not just a story to admire from a distance.
Right.
It's a story that has real implications for how we live our own lives.
Okay, so let's bring it back to that snow removal story.
Okay.
If we really understand the atonement,
Right.
this ultimate act of love,
Yeah.
how does that change how we treat the people around us?
I think that's the key question.
Yeah.
If we let that love sink in,
Yeah.
it has to change how we interact with the world.
It's not just about being nice
Right.
or fulfilling an obligation.
It's about recognizing the worth of every person.
Because they're children of God.
Yeah. And our responsibility to reflect his love in our interactions with them.
It makes you think about those times when maybe you weren't so loving.
Yeah.
You know, when you were quick to judge or hold a grudge.
Or missed an opportunity to serve.
Yeah. Or just offer a kind word.
It's a good reminder to check ourselves.
But I also think it's hopeful.
How so?
Because it's never too late to change.
That's true.
We can always choose love.
Yeah. Starting right now.
Right now.
This very moment.
It's a constant invitation to become more like the Savior.
To see the world through his eyes.
You know, speaking of expressing love,
Yeah.
this reminds me of something that happened with my kids the other day.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
They were arguing about who got to sit in the front seat on the way to school.
Oh, the classic front seat debate.
It happens every morning.
I know the struggle.
And they were getting so worked up about it.
The yelling and everything.
Oh, yeah, full-on meltdown.
Oh, wow.
So I finally pulled the car over, and I said, look, I know you both want the front seat.
Yeah.
But can we just try to show each other a little love this morning?
Okay.
How about we take turns?
And the person in the back gets to choose the music.
Exactly. And you know what?
Right.
It worked.
No way.
They calmed down.
That's amazing.
They agreed to take turns.
The power of love.
And the rest of the drive was actually peaceful.
Sometimes the simplest things.
I know, right?
It's like that ripple effect we were talking about.
Yeah, one small act of kindness.
Leading to another.
And another.
Creating this chain reaction of love.
I love that. Okay, so out of everything we've talked about today,
Yeah.
what stands out to you the most?
I think for me, it's that emphasis on happiness being a choice.
Okay.
That it's not about our circumstances, but our attitude toward those circumstances.
It's about that President Nelson quote, right?
Yeah. The joy we feel has little to do with the circumstances of our lives and everything to do with the focus of our lives.
I love that quote.
That's a good one.
So even in the middle of challenges,
Yeah.
we can choose joy.
We can choose to focus on the eternal perspective.
And that's where the atonement comes in, right?
Absolutely. Knowing that Christ overcame the ultimate adversity. That he offers us hope and redemption no matter what.
Gives us the strength to keep going.
Yeah. To face our own challenges with faith.
It's like the atonement provides this foundation
Yeah.
for that choice, for that shift in perspective.
We can choose joy. We can choose love because we know we're not alone.
We're love.
We're eternally loved.
And that love empowers us to make a difference in the world.
To bring hope and healing to those around us.
It's beautiful.
Is.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what question do you think we should leave our listeners with?
That's a good one. How about this? How can we each, in our own unique way, become conduits of that love?
Okay.
How can we take this eternal principle and translate it into action, into words, into choices that make a difference?
In our lives and the lives of others.
Exactly.
It's a good question.
It's a question worth pondering.
I think the answers will unfold as we strive to live that principle of love.
Yeah, as we align our hearts and minds with that divine source of love.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
It is, but it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about that continual striving, you know.
To be a little bit better.
Yeah, to learn to grow
Right.
in our capacity to love.
And even when we mess up,
Yeah.
we can always come back.
We can always turn back to that source of love,
Yeah.
to the Savior's example.
It gives me hope.
Me too. And I think that's what makes Elder Montoya's message so powerful.
Okay.
He acknowledges that we're human.
We're going to make mistakes.
Yeah. But he always points us back to that hope.
To that power of God's love.
It's like he's saying, hey, look, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
We're all going to stumble and fall.
But we don't have to stay down.
Right. There's always a hand reaching out
To lift us up.
to guide us back
To that path of love.
to that path of love.
And that hand is extended to all of us.
Doesn't matter.
No matter our past, our mistakes.
It's a gift.
It's a gift.
And all we have to do is accept it.
Wow, I love that.
It's a beautiful image.
It is. It really is.
It's a constant invitation to step into that love
to let it fill us up.
and then let it overflow into our interactions with others
And then we become almost like these living, breathing examples
of this principle.
of this principle of love.
Yeah, radiating that warmth and that light wherever we go.
And that's the ultimate legacy, isn't it?
To leave the world a little brighter,
A little kinder.
a little more loving than we found it.
It starts with that individual choice.
Yeah, that decision to embrace this principle.
And let it guide our lives.
It's powerful.
So to everyone listening,
Yeah.
as you go about your day, your week, your life?
We invite you to consider this.
How can you embody this principle of love in your own unique way? How can you be a source of light
Of hope.
in the world around you?
It's a journey worth taking.
And I think as you do,
You'll find a depth of joy and meaning that goes beyond anything life throws at you.
well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive today.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into the things that matter most.